Hello, hello! Hi, everybody! Hi, my name is Christen Crumpler. I'm your host, and this is Musical Mind Games. Woohoo! Round of applause. Musical Mind Games is powered by Classical Public Radio, WDAV. And Musical Mind Games is a stream that it combines music and gaming, and we geek about it with different conversations, and we also talk about the audio visual experience that the combination of the two brings. So if you're interested in any of that, stay tuned to this stream, keep watching, and please consider subscribing to this channel, the WDAV channel. There should be a button below or somewhere on the screen, and turn on the notifications so you can know the next time we have another MMG stream. But I want to thank you all so much for coming, and I want to thank and acknowledge our technical producer for tonight, Tamberly. Say hi, Tamberly. She's got hands, so she's got especially for tonight. So thank you, Tamberly. And I want to say again, thank you to you all for joining this first launch stream. I'm extremely excited to see you all. I see a bunch of people in here. It is very fun to see you all. And hopefully, we can have a fun time talking about what we're going to talk about tonight. And feel free that anytime during the stream to continue chatting in the chat. I'll be looking, Tamberly will be looking, and hopefully we'll be responding as soon as we can, or as much as we can throughout the stream. With that being said, I want to just call out a few people and say hello, Mary, hello, Amanda, hello, Zentalia, hello, Lydia. Thank you all for coming, and for people who haven't already chatted, just thank you for lurking in the stream. It's nice to have you. You're still a part of the community and, members. So thank you for being here. With that being said, we're going to start talking about what are we going to do for this launch stream, this first stream of MMG. So we're going to talk about the game Untitled Goose Game. And I want to know in the chat, have any of you all... Oh, by the way, we got some shout out love for Tamberly in the chat. If you want to give your peace sign, hello, showing that love and rep. But for any of you all, I want to know in the chat if you heard of Untitled Goose Game before, if that title for that game is familiar or not, or if this is the first time you're hearing it and you're curious to know what we're going to talk about, a game about a goose. I'll follow up more about what that's about. But yeah, feel free to drop in the chat if you know it or not. But we're going to talk about Untitled Goose Game and talk about how that game ended up inspiring the stream that you're seeing tonight, MMG, this whole live stream project. So that's one of the first things. And the second thing of the two things that we're going to talk about tonight is we're going to talk about how Untitled Goose Game is a good example of a bridge between music, more specifically classical music, and gaming, and how that creative example of art shows, that combination that creates that fun, geeky experience that we love when we play games. Oh, Amanda, you said you played the game before. By the way, I have not played the game before, but I've seen it, and I agree with you, it is pretty ridiculous at times. So, speaking of playing the game, if you're interested in seeing us play the game here on stream, we will be doing that this Friday at 6 p.m. in our bonus stream. So that's the time where we're going to play the game and see kind of what we talk about tonight kind of be realized in the game, and talk even more about what we're seeing then. It's going to be this Friday at 6. For tonight, it's going to be more along the lines of like a preemptive talk, where we kind of talk about the significance of the game itself and the role that the music plays within the game. So make sure to tune into that stream. But we've also got a bunch of fun things to talk about the game in this stream tonight. So with that being said, Mary said that Untitled Goose Game is new to her, but she's excited to watch the stream. I'm excited for you to see the game. Again, like I said, it's a pretty kooky game. But with that being said, we're going to jump right into what we're talking about the stream. So Untitled Goose Game. What is that game? I've only briefly started to explain what that game is. So it is a game where you are a goose. I know, shocker. And where you go around in European small village setting and you basically wreak havoc on the villagers, the town people that are there. It's funny because geese so much in our lives, whether you're going to work on college campus, they are the bane of our existence. But in this game, you get to be the bane of somebody else's existence, which sometimes can be pretty fun. And in the different areas for the game, you've got like a to-do checklist that you check off. So that's how the game is kind of structured. And you'll see more of that when we do eventually end up playing it. But I do have lined up to kind of give more of a visual idea of what the game is. I have the trailer, a clip of the trailer that I wanted to show you so you can see what I'm talking about, the to-do list, and see the animation style or the hand-drawn. I don't know if it's hand-drawn, but I know, maybe we should look that up. But so you could see the style that the game is made in. And so I want you to, while we watch this trailer, keep an ear out for what kind of music, the genre of music that is playing. And if you've kind of got an idea of what genre music is playing, keep in mind or think about who made the music. And then I'm going to ask you all to see what you all thought after we watch the clip. It's not a quiz. I just want to know what you think from listening to it. So with that, let's take a look at this clip. All right. Untitled Goose Game. Woohoo. It'd be a goose. Soggy bread. There's a to-do list I mentioned. The goose is trying to find its first victim of many in this game. It's found it. The music is some very nice, quirky piano music. Very cheeky. I always think at that part he's gonna bite his butt, but it's honking. Oh, he's trying to get the gardener's keys, and he got them! He got the keys! Cross that off! Now he's playing Duck Duck Goose with the gardener. All right. So that is the clip of the game's trailer that I wanted to show you. And like I said, there was some pretty quirky, cheeky music scoring the hijinks, just a snippet of the hijinks that you could see in that trailer. So yes, the chaos. Oh, and I also see Centralia, miss you too, WDAV, misses you too, Centralia. So after watching the trailer, I want to see if you all could pick up, I want to see in the chat if any of you all could pick up what kind of music, genre music, was playing in the trailer. If you've got any guesses, you can drop them in the chat right now, or you can give it a second. I'll give it just one moment. All right, so time's up. The music that you heard in the trailer, it was classical music. I think that was kind of a no-brainer, but if you're not as much of a classical music aficionado as you will be at some point, hashtag classical life, that's what my shirt says, the composer for the music, the piano music that we heard in the trailer, was actually by Claude Debussy. And Claude Debussy is a French late Romantic period classical composer. So it's neat to see that connection is there with his music being in the trailer and influencing the game. We'll talk even more about how classical music ended up being the decision and choice for being the soundtrack of this game. And also, for those of you who may not be familiar with Debussy, even though if you're not a classical music aficionado, I'm pretty sure you might know one of his pieces, and that's the piano piece Clair de Lune. It's a pretty one that goes dun 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 da 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 dun. I could spend the rest of the stream probably trying to hum it or vocalize it for you, but we're not gonna do that. Maybe another time. But that is one of Debussy's pieces. Untitled Goose Game, that's background about the game. So how did this game end up impacting the existence of this stream here that you're seeing right now? Well, it actually came from when I made my own personal connection with the game. I first found out about Untitled Goose Game when it came out in 2019. So a while ago, but not too long ago. And at the time, I was still a music student myself and still very much a gamer in my life. And so when I saw that, or when I learned that the music featured classical music and not just any instrumental music, but classical music, for me, that really made an impression on me and a connection to see that the two things I was passionate about, and very much big pillars in my life at that point, being a music student, classical music, and also video games, gaming, any and every time that I can, that there was a game that implemented those two things in a way that I thought was very interesting and fun. And I recognize that Untitled Goose Game, it's helped to strengthen that bridge being between the orchestral and gaming spheres of interest. So fast forward to me finally being here at the station, I talked with my supervisor a lot about my passion for video games and music, talking about the different soundtracks within video games that I liked. And I brought up to her Untitled Goose Game because I wanted to also bring an awareness that there are games that already exist out here that feature things that are in the station WDAV's classical music sphere. Again, like I said, the music is Debussy's, and with us being a classical station and us having aired his music before, there's definitely a connection between the two. And by me sharing that game to Tamberly and talking to others close to us about the game Untitled Goose Game, we finally recognized that there should be a space within the station where people who are already existing members of our community, or may not already be existing members, but can find an interest if it's through gaming and music, that we should create an area and space to do that, to geek out and have conversations talking about how these experiences impact our love for both of these things separately and together. So that's in a way how Untitled Goose Game, a game about a goose, ended up impacting the stream here tonight. So that's our first thing for tonight. It's talking about how Untitled Goose Game had was an inspiration, had an impact on everything. So we're gonna try to transition into the next thing that we've got planned for tonight, which is talking about how the music in the game actually functions, or what its role is into contributing, experience, or how it actually shows up. And so for that first one, I separated two clips. They're of a larger interview that you can find on YouTube of the music arranger for the game. His name, as I've written down, because I'm good about that, his name is Dan Golding. He brought the music together for Untitled Goose Game, and I've got a video with some things that he talked about in the interview that I wanted to take a moment to talk with you all about in this stream. So let's take a chance to look at that clip. First pancake.
The way that we thought of it when we were making the game was that it should sound like there is a pianist, like in the old days of silent movies, sitting over your shoulder, watching what's happening on screen and kind of commenting on the action with their piano playing.
All right. Silent movies. I first wanted to kind of just put a spotlight on him making that connection, because there are connections I made of my own from hearing that. And so looking at the chat, I want to know, first of all, is anybody unfamiliar with the concept of a silent movie? I don't want to take for granted that you all may know what a silent movie is, but let me know in the chat if you've heard of a silent movie before or not. Amanda says, if I'm remembering correctly, it really adds to the comedy. Yes. Oh, Amanda, that is a large part of something that I wanted to talk about. So I'm glad that you picked up on that too, Untitled Goose Game. They totally nailed it. It really does sound like silent film accompaniment. I completely agree with that. So the connection with silent film that I want to make is, remember when we watched that trailer video earlier in the stream? That, now, you may not be able to pick up on that in that trailer, but I'll also confirm for you, and you'll see it more when we play the game on Friday. But the game doesn't have any narration to it, not any verbal narration to it. And that's much like a silent movie. A silent movie is a movie that it has dialogue, but it's through text. The actors aren't speaking themselves. They have to emote with their expressions or their face. And usually the pianist, because at those times for silent films, you would have a pianist accompanying the film, playing through the score to further amplify the plot and the emotions that were going on screen and with the environments and everything there. And that's the connection that, like, I could immediately see when having silent movie paired with Untitled Goose Game, because even though there's not any verbal, dialogue going on within this game, there is still a narrative to be told. It is a quite cheeky and humorous narrative, like Amanda mentioned in the chat, but it's still there regardless. So that's one of the things that I want to point out. And with that humor, it's not only that you as a player, you are passively seeing it, but you actually have a more active role in the hijinks and the humor that goes along and how the music decides to amplify what's going on. So the last clip that I have kind of goes into that further. Lydia says that they have heard, they know silent movies. So I'm glad some people in here, I guess my assumption was correct, that the audience knows what a silent film is. So thank you for knowing. But yeah, we're going to take a look at this next clip.
So yeah, the using Debussy in the game was pretty much happenstance. We, originally the members of House thought that Debussy might sound nice on the Gardener's radio for the trailer. And when we put that together, when Jake Strasser, who's one of the people who works at House, edited that trailer so well, a bunch of commenters on the internet, well, I think a lot of people who watched the trailer were sort of like, oh great, this is how the music is going to work in the game. And we were all sort of like, we don't really know how dynamic music works at all, let alone how we're going to convert like these more than 100-year-old pieces. So how do you do that? How do you convert this music into something that works for a game? And but yeah, so then I did 2 performances of each of the preludes. One that's kind of what you would expect if you were a Debussy mega fan going to a concert of his preludes, and one that was way lower energy, much slower, much less intense. The way I was hitting the notes was much less powerful. And then went through and split both of those performances up into the same, what we called stems.
So that was the second clip, and that was the second thing that I kind of wanted to take out in spotlight with that clip was dynamic music, which I think the concept I was familiar with before seeing this interview, but the actual term, I think I learned that by watching this interview, and it actually spawned an article that I wrote for the station about it's not new anymore, but about the Super Mario movie that came out sometime last year. So if you want to read that, WDAV blog of note. Gotta get that promo in there. But dynamic music, I think that's such an interesting concept about how the music is influenced by your gameplay. Something that was in the chat that Amanda says that's really interesting. Mary says she noticed that with the little radio moment. Yes, you pick up the radio and it starts playing music which sounds like bagpipes. There was something that was said earlier in the chat that they love that the game incentivizes you to be a jerk. And musically, comedy wise, going back to earlier what we talked about, the game it goes with that comedy angle, and it gets amplified with the music, with the dynamic music aspect about the dynamic music aspects helps to, if you decide to bite somebody, or honk at somebody, the game helps you with your punchline. We might not all be comedians or stand-up comedians and have our open mic night being at SNL or anything like that. But with games, and especially with this game, it allows you to kind of get off, this is the punchline, this is the follow through, this is the payoff. And the music is, it doesn't play second fiddle. It helps to, think about a speaker. You plug in your gameplay into that speaker that is the music, and the music amplifies what you're doing. So what could be a tiny hilarious moment becomes a very funny one, and the music helps to enhance that. I want to take a look at some of the things that's going on in the chat. So cool that he did 2 different interpretations of the pieces, and then it responds to your gameplay. I haven't realized that nuance when I was playing, but that's so smart. And Lydia says, definitely makes it more exciting. It does, because also the role that dynamic music, the integration of that plays within this game, it helps you to get more connected and have a personal experience with what's going on in the game. It could very well have been just, Debussy playing in the background any and every time, no matter what you're doing, on the screen. But the music, it very intelligently goes along with what you're doing, and helps carry on that narrative. It's not going to go to the climax before you initiate it as a player, and so you're hearing that, and it's following you along through, and that's how it makes that personal connection and gets you engrossed and connected to what's going on while you're playing it. So that's one of the reasons why I want to separate out what Dan Golding had about the concept of dynamic music. It really plays a role in making it a more personal and realized and connected experience. Oh, like Mary says in the chat, kind of like a choose your own musical adventure. I like that example. Choose your own musical adventure. And so one thing that I also want to lastly say in the topic of its role, the music's role in Untitled Goose Game, is that obviously this is a game about a goose. It's not like for some other games like Last of Us where you're trying to cure the world of a sickness. Oh, that's too close to home. Trying to cure the world of a sickness by getting this person who's immune to the sickness to help and to make, to find something to cure the sickness. Or it's not like Fallout, where it's talking about how you navigate a post-apocalyptic world or country. This is a game where you're a goose honking at people, just being a little annoying little thing, but just because it's not those games, and those games that I mentioned earlier, they have beautiful scores for them. But this one, it also has a beautiful and very functional score towards it too. And so I just wanted to highlight that the fact that just because a game may have low stakes, it does not mean the game has low quality. Those things are not mutually exclusive. If anything, this is a game where you can kind of lean back and relax and giggle and chuckle at like the fun little hijinks that goes on within it. It really focuses and tries to center player experience throughout Untitled Goose Game, which I think that's key to what we're talking about here with musical mind games, about the experience of playing games. It's not just an isolated one about the game you're playing, but that the music can have an influence on that, and creating those different experiences and seeing how connected we get to a game can strengthen our passion and our love for these different types of creative mediums that we see. For our classical music lovers, if you're not playing a game, you can equate it to going to a concert and hearing the music come to life from musicians playing it. That experience can enhance your love for whatever piece you might have heard on the radio, hopefully our radio, before, or you might have played as a student, or getting to hear that music in a ballet and seeing dancers I was going to say play, but perform the choreography that goes along with that music. Just seeing a different perspective and idea and way to creatively display the experiences going on with this creative art forms. Those are really impactful and integral parts to all these different creative pieces and inner workings that goes on. And so, again, going back to that, just because it's a game about a goose does not mean that you can't make an impactful or a very connected experience with it. And that's my little soapbox for Untitled Goose Game. For that, that's some of the connections that I made, and we'll make more connections about that. I wanted to take a quick look to see what you all have remaining to say or want to say additionally yourselves about Untitled Goose Game after the conversation. You said that's a really good point. I got to the comment late, but I hope my comment was good. Thank you. Low stakes certainly doesn't mean low quality in the gameplay or with the score, obviously, because not every game we don't want it to always be high pressure. Sometimes we use video games in order to emphasize different feelings or moods that we need in the times we're at throughout our lives. And, there's a lot of stress going on in the world. And so that doesn't mean that we want to ignore anything, but sometimes with a game, we might want to use it to amplify more relaxed feelings or some of the joy that we are missing in other areas of our lives and such. And so, it doesn't have to be super complex for it to, have meaning attached to it. So, thank you for agreeing. And if you don't agree, that's feel free to say that. That's the whole point that we're talking here, because we all experience games in our own different way. And that'll come up with the different amounts of games that we have later for musical mind games. But with that being said, seeing all of the chat messages and such, and I think I'm caught up. By the way, I want to speak to one of the ones that Mary said. She says, I didn't catch you sing it. Sing again. You'll catch that another time, Mary. That's not for now. But with that being said, and I hop off my little soapbox, that's basically what I wanted to get at for tonight with Untitled Goose Game for the stream. We talked about the role and how its impact in that music plays in the actual game itself. And we talked about how the game, a game about a goose, inspired this stream here because, again, connected with it and found something meaningful, and through that could see an observation that there was a need and for a space to have community with. So that's basically Untitled Goose Game. That's what we're gonna talk. That's what we've talked about tonight. That's it. And I want to thank you all for coming to this stream tonight. I'm so glad to have you all here. It means a lot because it has been a journey trying to get this thing off. And so having you all here means the whole world to all of us. So thank you for coming. I want to let you all know when remind you when we're having our next stream. So musical mind games, for those, I don't think I talked about the frequency at the beginning of the stream, but this stream tentatively is twice a month. So, but since this month is about to end, why not have another stream this week? So from all this talk about Untitled Goose Game, again, we are going to play it this Friday at 6 p.m. on this channel. So please tune in again to watch us actually play through Untitled Goose Game and talk more about all these different connections of it being funny and such on Friday's stream. But yes, MMG is a twice a month Tuesday live stream at 6 p.m. And you can view it here at the WDAV YouTube channel. And again, consider subscribing so you can know when MMG is going to stream again, and all the different topics that we're gonna have. We also have an email list, which I think many of you have got to the stream by, but just focus on subscribing. If that's something you're interested in, please consider subscribing. Some people are excited for the next stream. Thank you. Please. I'm excited too. I want to thank a few of the people that have worked on the stream. I want to thank our technical producer and director for tonight, Tamberly Ferguson. She's working that OBS, working all the mixers and everything. I want to thank Emma Huff for the graphics for the stream, which are you see this nice, beautiful purple overlays and the countdowns and everything that we've done. Emma Huff did that. I want to thank Malcolm Alexander for the playlist for in-stream music. So all this nice music that you've been hearing throughout the stream outside of the Untitled Goose Game music has been curated by him. Marketing for the stream has been done by Mary Latham and Michelle Bialone. So thank you all for marketing. They are the ones who word of mouth for the stream, letting you know that this thing is this. So thank you all. And project advisement for how to get this thing off the ground and how it looks like. Thank you, Frank Dominguez. Thank you for project advisement. I also wanted to is there anything else that I'm missing? I gotta wrap it up. I want to also plug that I have a shift outside of just MMG that happens Sundays at 4 p.m., 4 to 6. So if you're interested in hearing me also, in addition to this space, you can listen through our WDAV mobile app or at wdav.org/archive. I want to thank you all again for joining tonight's launch stream. I hope to see you in the next stream. And I'm Christen Crumpler, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye!